Welcome to Theory of Paranormal. My name is Pax with my co-host Dalton. This is going to be season number 3, podcast episode number 8. And we are going to be discussing in this podcast the very scary haunted state of the United States, Indiana. With that being said, how are you doing this glorious day, Dalton?
Doing pretty good, man. Doing pretty good. How are you doing?
Hey, hanging in there another day, trying not to freeze as it's been very cold where I'm at. And I'm pretty sure wherever you've been lately, you're trying to do the same also.
Yeah, I'm actually at the house for once, but it's cold up here.
Oh, there you go.
It's funny because it goes cold and then 70 degrees and then back to cold again. So it's supposed to get down to what, 20 something tonight.
Oh,
No, you're a little further south, so
20 degrees Fahrenheit for our European and international listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I want to give a shout out to a couple new listeners, Joe and his new wife Shelby. They just got married. Met them over this last weekend. There are a couple new listeners out of Central Florida.
Congratulations on marriage.
Yes, congratulations again. But yeah, Indiana, Hoosier State, right? So
correct.
This will be for Jericho. Guy that I mentioned the last episode. Met him at the Truckomat. He works at Truckomat Truck Wash there in Indianapolis, getting my trailer washed out. We were talking. He got on board with listening to us while he was washing my truck and washing out the trailer, and came up real quick. Said, "Hey, have you ever done anything, on Indiana?" Because I was telling him lately, people have been asking us to do different areas of the country or different states, which we don't mind doing. We have said it several times and told people, if you got an idea for a podcast or you want something, want us to talk about something, to let us know. So they're starting to let us know, I guess.
There you go.
So Indiana.
There you go.
What'd you find out about Indiana? Anything interesting?
Oh, I found out tons of stuff about Indiana. Some stuff I knew, some stuff that's new, and we're going to find out. For any of our first-time listeners, welcome to Theory of Paranormal. Any of our returning listeners, thank you very much for listening to me and Dalton again talk about our adventures and inspirations and thoughts and theories on Theory of Paranormal. And for anybody that has tuned in again and is curious to know a little bit more about me and Dalton, maybe what we look like, maybe you want to try to contact us, rather it be email, telephone number, messenger service, or you have something you want to submit to us, rather it's a photo, video, or audio for professional review, or just send a nice message to say, hey, here's what's going on in my neck of the woods. How is everything going with you two? You can head on over to www.theoryparanormal.com, and you'll be able to see a little bit about the website, and we'll list at the bottom of the page all of the podcast platforms that we are on. And as far as it goes, to my knowledge, all those platforms are worldwide global. So we do have an international audience, and we do have a domestic audience in the United States. So we appreciate all of our listeners globally, and we appreciate your continued support and all the messages that we receive. Very amazing messages, and we definitely appreciate the words of encouragement and the information that we're given sometimes pertaining back to our podcasts. So
don't forget the Theory of Paranormal Facebook page. Again, a lot of traffic comes through there. Be sure to give us a like. We have some evidence up there. If you're first time, just check it out. See what you think. We have gotten some messages through there with people that didn't really want us to put anything on the air, so I really haven't mentioned it, but feel free to check out the Facebook page as well.
Yeah. You'll be able to see a little bit of documentation in reference to the paranormal. And I also forgot, usually I'm pretty on it. Looks like I'm off my game tonight. On the theoryparanormal.com website, you can also find a number that you can give a call, and it will reach out to me or Dalton, depending who picks up. And you can always email us at info@theoryparanormal.com if you'd like to shoot us an email. And we'll get back to you as soon as we are available. So, you wanted to know if I found out anything about the state of Indiana, any of the ongoings with the
Hoosier.
paranormal world. Yep, the Hoosiers. For anybody that doesn't know, Hoosiers is a very famous basketball team, college level, that is a force to be reckoned with. Great basketball program. So that's one of the things the state's known for. So,
Other football team's doing pretty good this year too.
well, there you go. I wouldn't know. I personally don't follow football that way. I'm more of the international football, which is soccer. So,
The real football. But anyway, what do we got? What we going to talk about? Let's get our minds wrapped around this state of Indiana here. See what we got.
well, there's lots and lots and lots of things to discuss about Indiana. I will tell you this. Over in a little small town, I want everybody to envision this when I say all this. It'll help place it easier. Little small town named Mitchell. The Whispers Estate is one of Indiana's most renowned paranormal hotspots. It was constructed back in the 20th century, if I remember correctly, and it's been subject to a lot of ghost sightings and unexplained phenomenon. Rumored to be the site of numerous tragic deaths, including accidental fire-related demise of a young orphan girl named Raquel. Now, the Whisper Estates is said to be haunted by the restless spirits of its former occupants, which is understandable because that's the way it usually works in the paranormal world. And visitors have reported a wide array of eerie occurrences, from disembodied voices to the sound of slamming doors to the apparitions of a young girl roaming the halls. Now, the reason why I bring up this particular one is because those three earmarks of paranormal activity are so common across the globe. Slamming of doors or noises, okay, right there. And the fact that your brain plays tricks on you. You think you hear something, then you don't, and then you're second guessing yourself, But if it happens more times than not, then you have to question, okay, is it in your head or is it really happening? Now, the disembodied voices, sure. If you live out somewhere and people have radios on, or you live close to people, thin walls, if you live in an apartment complex or a condo or townhome or even a house, and you hear voices, sure. But to know for a fact you're in a house by yourself and you're hearing something and you're the only occupant in that home, that's a whole different story. Completely. Now, the thing that's really interesting is the fact that, there's claims of a young girl roaming the halls. Think about that. For everybody that's listening, think about all the different paranormal stories you've heard. Anything you've ever watched on TV, any podcast you listens to, anybody discussing anything from their personal stories. How many times have you ever heard of a child appearing as an apparition roaming through the halls somewhere or through a building? That is very, very, from my experience at least, it's not common. Now, hearing a child, sure. Hearing a laugh, definitely. Maybe hearing some talking, okay. But not so much seeing an apparition of a child. So that's completely next level. Because you can definitely attest to this, Dalton, and when we did Casadega in the state of Florida, in Central Florida, and then we ended up going over to May Stringer House. Both of those areas had children, but it was just voices of children. It wasn't actual apparitions of children. So,
no, we have on the Facebook page. I do have that one photo of the child sitting at the front door, which is the one that basically there looks like an alien figure standing to the left of it. You can see the outline of the big head, and it's a tall figure. I mentioned this before, where the fingers look spaghetti like, and they're touching the spirit, like he's actually making the spirit come about. So when you look at it, it's a picture of one of the children. I'm assuming it's going to be one of the children that were in the house. So we do have that photo. And then if you remember one of our first investigations we did, I had the camera set up facing the bathroom. Remember when the shampoo bottle got lifted up out of the holder and flipped into the tub?
Yep, I completely remember that. And just to give context, these people used to go home and their shampoo bottles would be on the tub on the ground, and it was like 4 or 5 feet in the air in like a little thing it would sit in, and they couldn't figure out why. And while we were investigating, we were just chilling.
Yeah, it was in a
Yep.
it was in one of those holders that you'd put around the shower head,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it hangs down, and you can put your shampoo and your soaps and
Shaving creams
your
and all
little
that stuff.
yeah, your loofah or whatever you call those little squishy, spongy things that you wash yourself with. But so you remember we caught that little girl standing in front of the camera too, because I kept seeing her in the bathroom, and then we walked away from that side of the house and went to another side, and she actually was standing in front of the camera. You could, like, the top of her head was just above the middle of the camera frame. It didn't fill up the camera, so you know it was a short person, so it was a child. And then you can make out her hair. She had long hair and kind of right down to her shoulders, basically. So we've caught some like that.
Yep.
But go ahead. I was gonna let you finish your story, but I was gonna let you say that. I was gonna say that we have caught children not only just speaking or giggling or laughing, we have caught them actually on film as well.
Oh yeah. Well, it's normally not common, was my comment of saying how when you get documented stuff or evidence, shall I say, in photo, video, or audio, that you normally get apparitions of children. So,
Right. And to dive a little deeper on this Whispers estate if you want. So it was built in 1894, and it was a home to a doctor, George and Sarah White. So Dr. George and his
Dr.
wife Sarah
George.
White,
Yep.
Dr. George, for a short time before they sold it to another doctor, John Gibbons, and his wife Jessie in 1899. And the couple couldn't have children of their own, so they adopted 3 orphan children whom they loved dearly, but soon the tragedy started. So the 10-year-old Raquel, snuck out of the bed on Christmas morning in 1921 to peek at her Christmas gifts. They were next to the fireplace, and of course, back then they had an open fireplace, kind of like the Octagon Hall when little Mary. It's kind of going to be the same incident, except Mary went down to the kitchen and was dancing around while her mom was cooking. But Raquel accidentally came too close to it, and her clothes caught fire, and she got badly burned and died at the house 2 days later.
That's no good.
So no, it's not, never no good. And John and Jesse were literally heartbroken, but it didn't stop there. Their infant daughter, Elizabeth, who was only 10 months old, suddenly died in the master bedroom. Basically, cot death, COT death. I'm thinking that's an infant type thing, was the conclusion, but the real cause was never found. So, heartbroken again, Jessie got very ill with pneumonia and died only 2 weeks after her little girl. So, Whisper's estate was basically not a happy home to the Gibbons. Now, being the house is haunted, in 2006, the house was bought by somebody who wanted to turn it into a bed and breakfast. The house had been vacant for a while and desperately needed renovating. When the house was being renovated, strange things started to happen, which we've always said, if you move into a house and you change the carpet to hardwood flooring and that place is haunted and they don't like it, they're going to let you know it. Like, it's actually picks up the activity in the house. So the house was then named Whispers Estate, but that's not only supernatural thing that happened. So the master bedroom sometimes strongly smells like baby powder. So that's where the infant died, right? Even though there are no babies around, sometimes sounds of a baby crying can be heard as well. People who have stayed in this room feel as if they are suffocating or as if somebody is sitting on their chest. Now, that, once again, now we can say paranormal, but we can also go sleep paralysis, which is medical, right?
Could be.
Right. So, and they say, is this because Jesse Gibbons died of pneumonia in there? And the closet in this room is also very haunted. The doorknob is known to jiggle for a while before the door opens by itself. Many people have experienced this phenomenon. Now, they do have a picture on here basically of a person being scratched in the house, but it's actually 4 lines, it's not 3. So that's, and there's actually a few more scratches on the side that you can make it out, but you can't see. But the one on the back, now there's one that goes the other way. Now, the problem with this picture is I don't know if it's legit or not, or if they doctored it. So I'm just saying there is a picture on here of somebody who was in the house and been scratched. So disembodied footsteps, what you were talking about, have been heard as well. Small, light-footed steps are the most common. So we're going to take that as that would be Raquel, which they say they probably belong to Raquel. But there was another ghost child at this house as well. A little boy fell down the stairs and died. His spirit has been picked up by psychics and on several occasions.
Now, I'm going to ask you a quick question just to interject.
Mhm.
From a paranormal investigator, researcher's experience and perspective for the listeners out there across the globe and the world, you are talking about a child or children that are producing results to do after the fact evidence slash phenomenon to interact potentially with our side. With your experience, do you notice there's things that are a common theme or seem to regularly happen when you've dealt with interacting with children on the paranormal side compared to it being an adult or a teen, supposedly apparition or ghost, I guess I could say?
Well, a lot of stuff. I mean, so when we've dealt with kids, they usually want to play.
Okay.
So you either like some of them we've been to, you could roll a ball, they roll the ball back, or you'll be in a room and a ball just comes out of nowhere and rolls into the room. And me, I just roll the ball back to the other room because I'm feeling okay. They want to play, like the daycare that used to be on the top of the Putnam Hotel there in DeLand.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's in Florida. So the thing about this is that they're picking up the smell of baby powder. That's a first for me. I've never. We've been to some places where some infants had passed, and I've never caught any kind of whiff or smell of any kind of presence of a baby. But children, now the footsteps are usually pretty well known. Like we did the interview with Bonnie at May Stringer House on the May Stringer episode, and she talked about she heard the little pitter patter of feet behind her daughter as she was turning the lights out on the second floor.
Okay.
So those would be the children of the May Stringer house. So the footsteps are pretty common. The crying, the crying is pretty common. But what gets me on this one so everything's pretty common except the smell of baby powder, like actually smelling like there's a baby present in the room. That's kind of new. But yeah, everything else seems pretty well along the lines of what we've encountered as far as investigations we've done, despite the private investigation we did where the child flipped the shampoo bottle out of the holder. That's totally a lot of energy right there.
Okay.
So I mean, I guess that answers your question. I don't know, but
Well, yeah, I was honestly looking at it from a contrast perspective of wanting to get your unvarnished or opinion basically of what the variance or difference was between when you would investigate and have experiences with an apparition or interacting with the paranormal of an adult or teen versus it being a child, and if there was any similarities or consistencies that would constantly happen or be a baseline that you could almost going into a situation expect to say, okay, well, I'm going to be interacting with a child potentially, so maybe there's going to be more interaction with hearing words or hearing footsteps or laughing or feeling a tug on my pant leg or your pant leg, per se.
well, it's like I said, it's all pretty much the same. Now they do differate. I mean, they do separate themselves eventually, and you'll know that you're talking to a child or a teenager or an adult. I mean, it's so the footsteps could range from anybody really. When you hear footsteps coming down the hall, even when you're in the 1800 house, an older house. Back then, kids wore heavier shoes, so they could sound like an adult coming down the hallway. You don't know. You're just hearing footsteps. Now, if they get to be a lighter footsteps, like they mentioned small, light-footed steps. So, most likely that could be a child, but they're saying, but here's the thing, you had a little boy fell down the stairs and he passed. So, that could be the little boy walking around. They're saying it probably belonged to Raquel, but there is another ghost child at the house. So, it could be either one of those children. Or if the mother wasn't very big, if I've caught where what I thought was a child was actually an adult because the mother was small, she wasn't very tall, and she was, obviously you can tell she probably didn't weigh much. So her footsteps sounded almost like a child
Okay.
because she was small, light-footed, not a heavy. She probably weighed probably 80, 90 pounds. And the way that so then you get into a way a person walks. Some people walk with a heavy foot. Some people walk with a light foot. So like me and you, we're military trained. What do? We dig our heels in when we walk, right? That's what you're trained to do is to drop your heels. So there's so many scenarios when you come to footsteps. It has to be basically you have to you either have to get them to respond to your equipment or the child though always will give it away because they will always giggle or laugh or you'll hear a small child's voice in the background say, "Hey." They'll say hello. They're not afraid compared to an adult or a teen that might sit over in a corner and be watching you for a while before they decide to interact.
Okay. So, in reference
So,
to, go ahead.
well, there's more to this story if you want to hear it, or what was you going to say?
Well, yeah, I was going to get you to finish what you were saying about the house there. And then I had a follow up question for you.
All right. So it says when you hear heavy footsteps, be cautious. This sound is almost always associated with growls, pushing, scratching, and even biting, which comes to the point of actually the owner of the house. Rich Ballard is his name. This is his photo of the scratching, like they obviously scratched him. They do have a shadow figure in there, a large shadow called the Big Black.
Hmm.
Don't know why they call it that, but it's called the Big Black. Has been seen in the doctor's room. Dr. Gibbons had a general practice at the house. Sounds almost like what May Stringer had, and it's actually on the first floor. Imagine that. Uh, for about 26 years, patients have died in the house. But the psychics claim that the Big Black isn't of this world. Now, this is where this is where I will step back from the psychic world because it's the now you want to talk about the same stuff. When psychics see a shadow figure, that's, I mean, how many, what's the normal thing you hear out of psychics and mediums?
It depends on the context of the question or their environment. I mean,
Right, but I'm saying
thinking about it logically.
right, but when they see a shadow figure, what do they normally, oh, they're not of this world, right? Isn't that normally what you hear?
It could be. It depends on their experience. Everybody's different for their perspective, but to go with a more simplified answer, sure. You
Well,
know.
I'm just saying, like, okay, so we figure like shadow people are watchers. Like we have an episode about shadow people, and I think they're watchers. Like, are they of this world? I think some are and some aren't. They just make it out like shadow figures are just not of this world. Which what you're saying is they're alien. To me, they're like alien beings that, you know, hide in the shadows and they just watch us. They
Yeah,
just watch over us to see
potentially.
what we're doing.
Yep.
Right. But I also know that shadow figures can also be a spirit because I've encountered that where shadow figures, you see a shadow figure come down the hall and interact with our devices. So they weren't just standing back there in the corner, looking around the corner, just watching us. I've had some shadow figures come up and actually interact. So I think it's both, and I think the only thing I say is I'm not trying to down psychics or mediums, but they need to stop. To me, my opinion, this is my opinion, they need to stop just making shadow figures, just constantly saying isn't of this world. The paranormal isn't of this world. It's from another dimension, right? So ghosts, spirits, that's another realm, right? So that's there. I mean, come on, just watch what you say is all I'm trying to say. If you're going to say the big black isn't of this world, you're talking, and mostly shadow figures. The whole spiritual realm itself isn't of this world. It's not. It's something different that we can just sense or see, and they build up enough energy to interact with us. You understand what I'm trying to say there?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, so anyway, this black mass also moves around in the house. It hasn't been violent so far, but it's terrifying. Speaking of the doctor's practice, according to some psychics, there are at least 4 graves in the backyard. See now we're getting into the meat and potatoes of this place. Now you got 4 graves in the backyard. Did this guy, when he bought this place to make it a bed and breakfast, did he know that there's 4 graves back there?
Hmm.
Don't know. So as well as a pit grave. Now, see, this is where people, when you buy a place, make
Do
sure you
do
do
your
full
research.
research.
Do your research. See how me and Dalton both said it?
Do your research.
Do your
Come on, man.
research.
Can you guess what the pit grave is for? You know what a
Uh,
pit grave is, right?
yeah. I'll let you
It's a mass
explain.
grave.
Mhm.
It's basically a mass grave. So this is where amputated limbs, internal organs, and aborted feces were dumped. Fetuses, not feces, but fetuses. So basically, I don't even want to say the word. I'm not going to say it, but you understand what I'm saying. Aborted
Mhm. Yeah,
fetuses
yeah.
were dumped. Limbs, organs, and fetuses were dumped in this pit grave as well in the backyard. So the doctor himself haunts the premises as well. He is known for whispering in young women's ears, and so he basically, he's whispering in ears, he's grabbing and touching and scratching people, he's doing things that they're saying he's doing. They show another picture of him being scratched. People claim that inside the house there's a portal which runs from the front parlor into the third floor room attic. Now, does this sound familiar? Because May Stringer House supposedly has a portal in that hallway on the second floor. Remember them saying that?
Yep.
So this is why I'm kind of dead set on this place myself, because it actually almost mirrors the May Stringer House.
Very,
Guy was a
very interesting.
doctor. Right. How interesting is that? The guy was a doctor, had practice in the house. Well, Dr. Stringer, I believe it was Dr. Stringer, right? He was practicing in the house. He had a medical room. So the room, now see, the third floor room attic. So the room in the attic is said to be the heart of the house. Guests brave enough to have spent the night here claim to have had terrible nightmares, and they also say that something tried to enter their room through the door at night. Now, we used to call him Mr. Nasty up in the attic. I think they call him what, Gary now at the Mace Stringer.
Sounds about right.
So you got another ghost the psychics have picked up on is that a gentleman in his 50s or 60s, he died in the upstairs bathroom, probably of natural causes. Guests report feeling earthquake-like tremors in the doctor's bathroom. Some beds tend to shake violently when guests are sleeping in them. Strange smells like cologne, aftershave, cigars, cabbage, and dirty medical bandages have been noticed by the visitors as well. A group of women who felt compassionate towards Raquel brought along a doll when they visited the house. They took it up to what used to be her room. A while later, the doll was found on the foot of the stairs. It smelled like smoke and it was slightly burned. Now,
Hmm.
that would be because she died, what, by fire, right? So,
Yep.
so if she picked the doll up and put it on the stairs, then you're smelling the remnants of her, which I hate to say, but was on
Unfortunately.
fire.
Yep. Unfortunately.
So the house itself actually looks like this normal house. Probably, I don't know. It's kind of Victorian looking a little bit, but it's right in the middle of a neighborhood. Like you would drive right by it and not even know that this place was sitting there. Now, see, here's another dead giveaway. The house was up for sale for only $130,000, including all the furniture. Today, it's still open to the public, but beware of the fact you might get scratched when you visit. They give out a special thanks to Rich Ballard, the owner of the Whispers Estate, for the pictures. I would actually think we might have to do a road trip.
That's rare for Dalton to say. So
I
there
think
you
we'd
go.
have to go stay in. I'd want to go stay in this place and see how legit. It's like a normal house, dude. It's like a normal. Well, it's 2 stories, and then it's got the third where you see the attic because the roof is pitched, so it's got like room to walk up in the attic, kind of like May Stringer. But May Stringer is what, 4? I think there's 4 levels to May Stringer. But yeah, Whispers Estates, man, very very interesting. I'm
Hmm.
gonna go to one that Jericho mentioned. This is not really. I didn't read anything paranormal about it. It's called the Devil's Backbone. Have you ever heard of that?
Nope.
They got one in Texas, so don't be mistaken for the one in Texas. But basically, this back in the day, President Thomas Jefferson considered the Devil's Backbone to be one of the most important archaeological archaeological sites in the United States. It is still arguably the most important archaeological site in Indiana, but has yet to be studied through thoroughly by archaeologists. They show like a map, but the Kentucky side of the river is far more suitable for agricultural. It contains several woodland period and southeastern ceremonial cult mounds. So I guess if you look at it, it's kind of like a backbone, but it says early Anglo-Celtic settlers in the Ohio Valley encountered abandoned fieldstone forts on hilltop in the region. They were assumed to have been built by the extinct European race, since the Native Americans were thought to be intellectually incapable of creating stone architecture. Popular explanations include that they were ruins of castles built by the Welsh colonists by Prince Madoc. Now, I could see that. There might be some ruins there on those mounds
It's very interesting.
because it is. They say that they might be like they were the ruins of towns built by the 10 lost tribes of Israel also, or that they were the ruins of forts built by Roman legionnaires. lot going on there. So you're going from Welsh colonists to lost tribes of Israel to basically Roman legionnaires. It'd be nice if somebody actually could study that and see. What these settlers found were sites that generally survived as linear heaps of fieldstones along the crests of natural terrace. I didn't say so my southern accent's gonna get in the way because
You said terrace.
T-E, yeah, not terrorists,
Yeah,
but
terrace.
terrace.
Yeah.
Yeah, Terraces.
Yep. That's what I heard you say.
Or flat. Okay, cool. So, or flattened hilltops. There was little, if any, evidence of residential or communal structures other than a few let's say, earthen or fieldstone mounds. There were gaps in the stone walls that suggested gateways. The original appearance of these ruins was left to the imagination of the frontiersmen. Some imagined ancient castles, others assumed that they were livestock enclosures. Serious professional studies of these sites only began in the late 1800s, after many had been seriously damaged by locals seeking building stones or buried treasures. So you have the treasure hunters. So until the late 20th century, the construction of the fieldstone enclosures were assigned by the archaeology profession to the Hopewell people that lasted roughly 200 BC through 500 AD. Now it goes down into southeastern Ohio. The Fort Hill stone enclosure is about 27 miles southwest of Hopewell Culture National Park. Many sites clearly also had ceremonial functions. Now, see, I was thinking that too. You got structures. I didn't really pay attention to what the structures look like. There's not really any clear photo of it. But a lot of people, even Native Americans, bury their people on a structure like a stilt structure. So they also were thinking ceremonial functions associated with the azimuth of the sun. I guess it's some kind of group of people. Now, archaeologists are not so certain about these sites and if the Hopewell culture traits even constituted one ethnic group. Some provided by artifacts unearthed at these sites suggest that at least some of the stone forts were ceremonial sites initiated by participants in this Hopewell culture complex. However, other evidence suggests that the construction of stone walls occurred during the time of the fort ancient culture. And it goes on and on about the fort ancient culture, but now we're going out of Indiana down into Cincinnati, Ohio, which basically borderline each other. And basically talks about Okmulgee. It even goes down into Georgia. So we're not going to go there. We stick with Indiana. But the backbone actually is a unique, goes right along the Ohio River. And the way it's formed is all these unique structures up there, which makes it nothing really paranormal about it. I did want to bring it up because Jericho mentioned it. So that's a little bit about that.
It's pretty interesting. Was there anything of note that you noticed with Indiana that really caught your attention?
I tell you, the Fox Hollow Farm is basically, he wanted us to talk about that. There, so just to go over that real brief, the Fox Hollow Farm is in Westfield, Indiana. That was home to and I'm going to go with the serial killer deal because that's what it was. This guy basically fought. He killed 11 people. They were buried they were buried the bodies. He buried them on the estate, and he did it anywhere between Indiana and Ohio. So where the paranormal side comes in on that, of course, is the tragic events associated with this guy. His name was Herb Ballmeister or something. He was labeled as the I-70 serial killer or whatnot. And it says that it's a farm, has gained a reputation for being haunted. Numerous paranormal investigation teams have explored the estate, seeking evidence of supernatural activity. So they got reports of strange occurrences, such as unexplained noises, sightings, and electric voice phenomena, which EVPs, have been documented by investigators. They do have a documentary out. It's called The Haunting of Fox Hollow Farm. It basically delves into these paranormal investigations and the estate's chilling history. It features insights on basically from the paranormal experts and explores the lingering energies believed to haunt the property. Now, if you take the tragic, first of all, I don't like we've investigated. I've investigated places where people have been murdered or whatnot, and it brings a dark energy to that place. So it does say that it has a combination of its dark past and ongoing reports of hauntings basically have made this a point of interest in the state of Indiana for both true crime enthusiasts and paranormal investigators alike. Now, when you go into what's your thought process? You're gonna go, oh, let's go to Fox Hollow. It's the home of they've done that to that one guy. Well, I forget his name recently. There was investigators that went to this guy's house and actually went out to the area where he was held and hold the people, but I can't think of his name right now. But anyway, you're going out there. That's a lot of dark energy, man. I mean, that's a ton of because it's not like they died of natural causes. This is a strain on their energy level. If you understand that, it's they were murdered. So you kind of go into the not ready to die factor or
Fight or
what's a
flight.
good word? Right, but as a spirit that's hanging around, you got unfinished business. You know what I'm saying? It's like you went too soon. It wasn't your time, kind of thing. So, but that attracts a lot of dark. Not only was the dude probably dark himself. I mean, for a guy
You're
to do
talking
something
you're
like
you're
that,
talking about the Fox Hollow Farm, about the person that was a serial killer that ended up unfortunately taking out a lot of people.
yeah, that's why I said the Fox Hollow Farm.
Yeah.
Did I lose you somewhere?
No. I'm just reiterating.
Yeah. So, what I'm saying is, this guy went out and sought out certain people. I'm not going to say what kind of people, but they were certain people that he sought out, and he basically ended their life and buried them on the property on the estate there. And so what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of dark energy there. Like true dark energy, like evil dark energy. So that's the paranormal side of that, which is basically obvious. You have restless spirits, probably that's what I was looking for, to use that the restless spirits there are sure to be haunting that place. I'm sure. What do you think?
Most definitely.
So, but I think the one that gets me that stands out is the demon house. Have you heard of that?
No. Not particularly.
You want to guess why this one kind of attracted me?
Because it's a house and you like houses?
Because it's an alleged demonic possession.
There you go.
And you know me and possessions. I like to read up on when it actually is a biblical possession and not just a spiritual takeover or channeling or something.
Yeah.
So the story of the demon house, also known as the Amon's haunting case, is a chilling account of a paranormal activity and alleged demonic possession that occurred in Gary, Indiana, not too long ago in 2011. Latoya Amons, her mother, Rosa Campbell, and their three children claimed to have experienced a series of bizarre and unsettling incidents in their new rental home. These include swarms of black flies, footsteps in the basement, and shadowy figures in the living room.
Hmm.
First of all, I can get past the footsteps and the shadowy figures, but if you got swarms of black flies that are not leaving the house, they're in the house or whatever, that's a first flag. Then the children reportedly levitated, spoke in strange voices, and exhibited violent behavior. Now, we said it before, the children as a child, they're more accepted to the paranormal. So it's kind of easy, especially if it's a demonic figure, a true demonic figure, probably made friends with them at first and then slowly was taking them over.
Hmm.
Despite the family's pleas for help, the Indiana Department of Child Services intervened and the family eventually moved out. The case has been the subject of documentaries and sparked debates about the natures of the hauntings. Now, if we dive into this story a little bit,
Little bit.
a little bit. So, the story was published in 2014, and received national attention. So again, in 2011, Latoya Amos, her mother, blah, blah, blah. They even gave the street address, which is kind of unique, in Gary, Indiana. Days after the family moved in, they claimed black flies swarmed the porch in December and kept returning repeatedly. Campbell initially heard footsteps in the basement and the doors creaking. Later, she alleged to have witnessed a shadowy figure of a man pacing in the living room and found a boot print, I guess, on the floor.
The only thing I would say is, what's this all about? Get it?
He was trying to give him the boot, obviously. So Campbell claimed she was choked by an unknown force. The 12-year-old daughter had claimed to have levitated above her bed, unconscious, during a sleepover with a friend.
Hmm.
They were said to have prayed until the girl returned to bed. The daughter had no memory of the incident. The older son was allegedly thrown across the room by an unknown force. The younger son allegedly had his eyes roll into the back of his head and was growling, saying, "It's time to die, and I will kill you."
Well, that wasn't very pleasant.
That's called get the heck out of that house. That's what that's called. First of all, if you see if the daughter was levitating above the bed, it's time to go. I wouldn't even waited for the son to roll his eyes back in his head and start threatening people, because now you're getting into Amityville, because
Yeah.
it's the older son. Well, the older son was thrown across the room. The younger son allegedly rolled his eyes back. So the family reached out to their physician. You should have went to a priest, but anyway, Jeffrey something, on April 19th, 2012. When he visited the house during the supposed haunting, he noted their behavior was delusional. See, this is where you're going to get the medical scientific deal. Oh, you're delusional.
Hmm.
Someone from his office contacted police. After the police arrived, the children were taken to the hospital. The older boy was described as acting rationally, while the younger boy screamed and thrashed. In 2012, Department of Child Services was alerted to the family. The DCS believed that the children were performing for their mother.
Hmm.
Sensational stories published in outlets, different papers and stuff, reported that the DCS personally had allegedly witnessed the youngest boy walking up the wall backwards. Okay, if you're Department of Child Services and you walk up and the kid's climbing up the wall backwards, I don't think they're performing for their mother at that time. That's just
Yeah.
37-year-old police captain Charles Austin believed paranormal activity occurred in the house. No doubt, right? Like, if the kid was walking up the wall backwards and everybody witnessed it, yeah, you would say paranormal. A photo published by the Indianapolis Star claimed to show a shadowy figure when no one was home. The family hired finally a Reverend Michael Maganot to perform an exorcism. He interviewed the family on April 22nd, 2012, and concluded they were being tormented by demons. He eventually performed 3 exorcisms, 2 in English and 1 in Latin. One exorcism was performed on Latoya Amons herself. So the Amons family moved to Indianapolis in 2012, after which the events were said to have stopped. Now, here's the interesting thing about all this. They have a skeptical analysis part to this. Believe it or not.
There you go.
So now you got physician Jeffrey, the physician they called, has been skeptical of the entire incident and failed to witness any paranormal incidents. In his medical notes, he wrote delusions of ghosts in home and hallucinations. Eamon's children had a history of irregular school attendance, with a complaint filed against Eamons in 2009. In 2012, she blamed her children's continued irregular attendance on basically the demonic activities that were going on in the house, which is well explainable. According to skeptical investigator Joe Nickel, Police Chief Charles Austin was an admitted believer in the supernatural, including ghosts. So he reported that the photo published by the Indianapolis Star, captured basically by the police department, according to the Hammond police chief, not an official photo and was not taken by the Hammond police authorities. So you got one guy that says it was, some people say it wasn't. Nickel also interviewed a number of witnesses and concluded that supposed supernatural events were either misreported, embellished, or exaggerated, or had a basically a non-supernatural explanation.
Huh.
So the supposed levitation was in fact described by the mother that something raised her daughter up off the bed, then snatched her off the bed, implying that the girl simply threw herself upwards. And then while the walking up the wall backwards incident failed to mention that the boy's grandmother was in fact holding his hand throughout, which allowed the boy to push himself against the wall and walk up it. Now, did these people hear themselves when they say this, when they write this? So you're saying that the
I don't
grandmother,
know.
you're saying you're saying the grandmother was in fact holding his hand throughout, which allowed the boy to push him. You can't just stand by somebody and hold their hand standing next to them, and they're going to allow themselves to push against the wall and walk up it. How is that? I mean, do we have to debunk this? Do we have to try this out? Like, see if we can stand next to each other, holding hands, and I'm going to walk up the wall backwards. That's not even physically possible. But they're saying it happened. It's just saying that because the grandmother was holding his hand through the whole thing, it allowed him to push himself again. What's in front of him? What's keeping him? You're going up the wall backwards. What's keeping you from? It ain't her hand.
That is pretty strange.
I mean, okay, so if you had both his hands, imagine this. You were standing in front of him and you had both his hands, and he started to walk up the wall backwards, balancing off of your hands and arms in front of him. That makes sense, right?
Yeah, it does.
But not standing, okay. But not standing basically beside him.
I don't know what to tell you on that. That's just, it is what it is.
So,
go ahead.
Anyway, the landlord, Charles Reed, stated he never experienced any supernatural events at the house. His prior tenants also claimed to never have such experiences at the time. So obviously, they say that once they moved, it stopped. So at the time, they say that Amons was behind on the lease and used the claimed paranormal activities to avoid payments. The tenant who moved in after Amons had not noticed any paranormal events either. Reed believed the events were a hoax.
Interesting.
It is interesting. The children were interviewed by psychologists, and several professionals concluded the children were acting deceptively and in accordance with their mother's beliefs. Don't know what the mother's beliefs were.
Well, that makes both of us.
Tracy Wright, a psychologist, noted that the youngest son acted possessed whenever he was challenged or was asked questions that he did not wish to answer. And I'm not going to name this guy, one of the famous paranormal investigators out there. He purchased the house for like $35,000, demolished it in January of 2016 after filming a documentary in it.
That's pretty weird. Why are you going to buy something, do that, and then just get rid of it? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, obviously, he says that it actually held a demonic presence. But my thing is, he left the foundation of the house.
Doesn't make a
So you tore
difference.
the
Even the foundation don't make a difference. It's the land, it's the property. I mean, at least in my opinion. That's,
well, it could be the house. If it's the house and not the land, and you tear the foundation out, that might be fine. But you left the foundation there. That's still part of the structure of the house. That means the activity's still happening because ghosts and spirits don't see walls and kitchen sinks. They might. I don't know. But if you left the foundation there, the foundation, I mean, think of the name foundation. That's what you left the root there. And so now people stop by there and he actually took a piece of the house and put it in his museum, but he claims that it's definitely demonic. But it's funny that nobody else had any activity there. So did the mother, I mean, I want to know if the mother actually practiced with Ouija boards or did some stuff that maybe brought something to the house. Who knows? What's your thoughts?
you know, there's no way of knowing exactly what always happens because somebody could do something without knowledge and you're just like, "Okay." Or something could happen and you think you're good to go, but things happen behind the scenes. The reality is, with the paranormal world, for anybody that's still with us and listening, is being an investigator researcher, you can only go off of the knowledge that you're able to find or what has been passed down to you. Unfortunately, there's always, and Dalton can attest to this, there's always information that's withheld or not shared or just not known that majorly affects the investigation. And sometimes that information's integral, it's key to what's going on. And if you would have known about it after the fact, it would have changed potentially the whole investigation. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And trying to find things out is one of the more daunting aspects of being a paranormal investigator researcher. Trying to put all the pieces together, trying to make everything work. So, my point being is for bringing all this up is I wouldn't be surprised if there was more going on at that house than what you just stated.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised either because you do have basically the only one that was a skeptic and the only one that I would see that would be a skeptic, which he was the physician. He's a doctor.
Yeah.
He's not there. Even though I've said it before, all people that are either they're doctors, they're police officers, they're firefighters, anybody first responders or medical, they've had their paranormal experiences. Some just don't want to believe it
Yeah.
because you always have the guy that says, "Oh, well, I wrote, you know, a certain set of numbers on top of the lamp." And they said, "Oh, I was floating in the air and I seen you guys operating." And he's like, "Oh, well, what was the set of numbers on top of the lamp?" First of all, I don't think that if I had an outer body experience while I was in surgery, that I'd be paying attention to a set of numbers on top of the lamp. I'd be just like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" You
Yep.
know?
Yep. Without a doubt.
But there's also been cases in physician world where people have passed away while under surgery or something and basically had stated some things that how would they know laying there on the table out like a light? Whether they're because they're under some kind of, anesthesia or whatever, they're just out. But how would they know that that doctor walked over and dropped a pair of scissors on the floor over there and they had to go get another pair from somewhere else and he came back in or, certain particular things. You're worrying about a set of numbers on top of a lamp, but the dude just told you all the moves you made, like all your people made while you were in there. Don't know.
Yep.
Very strange. So
Very, very
that's why
strange.
the Ammons haunting case in the demon house caught my attention because it talked about demonic possession. Now, it might not have been that it was demonic. It could have been a spiritual. It could have been just an evil person that was because you notice a lot of it was aimed at the kid. I don't know why the one kid was throwing across the room,
Yeah, that is pretty strange.
but they were 7, 9, and 12. So the kid walking up the wall is what gets me. People seen that. They say they watched the kid walk up the wall backwards.
Hmm.
But you're stating because the grandmother was standing beside him holding his hand, off the one hand that the grandmother was strong enough to withstand his balance while he walked. There's no way. There's no way.
Hmm.
So interesting story there. Whether it was true demonic or not, I don't know. I wasn't there. The black flies, that could have been a number of things why those flies were on the porch. It said it swarmed the porch. Didn't actually say it went into the house. It just said they claimed black flies swarmed the porch. Could have been something on the porch that attracted them. You know, like certain colors down here where we live attract certain bugs to the house. So not sure about that either. But the figure of a man pacing in the living room, a shadow figure of a man. So that man might have been a recent homeowner of that place or a resident.
Yep.
Maybe didn't like the older kid for some reason and tossed him across the room. And maybe it was him that was taking over the younger kid because, again, they're more receptive to the paranormal and easier to manipulate. You agree to that, or what's your
No.
thoughts on that?
No, I was actually contemplating thinking that earlier. And the reason why Dalton brings up that point is the theory and logic behind a child being easier to manipulate is basically a child is very impressionable, young energy, free going, free spirited, and doesn't have their mind shaped or formed for social society norms or opinions. So they're just an abundance wealth of energy. As adults get older, things change and adults become more resilient, and therefore adults are more hard to manipulate and influence. So children are an easier target potentially on the paranormal side to be able to influence, I guess would be the best
Well,
way to use it.
well, adults can be influenced as well. It's just they shut that part of their mind off. So
Right.
the paranormal, they're only accepted to the paranormal when they're sleeping. That's when their mind is so that so when you're an adult, like we've mentioned, your eyes, what you see, what you hear has your mind traveling 100 miles an hour. When you go to bed, you ain't got all that. So your mind just opens up that part that you forgot you had. So then you have the dreams of I was walking, across the beach with my grandmother holding hands and it felt so real. Well, it probably happened. Well, kids are still innocent and they're basically, I don't want to say naive, but they're more gullible because they don't know. So if this entity comes over and acts like a friend, like, "Hey, I'm your buddy," blah blah blah, and they always, you get people, "Oh, my daughter talks to an imaginary friend." Well, that's not really imaginary. She might actually be talking to somebody. You
Yep.
need to pay attention to that.
Exactly.
Well, Jericho, thank you, man. There's some more stuff in Indiana that we didn't get to. The Story Inn is a place. There's a bunch of places throughout Indiana that have some hauntings. There's an Avon, Indiana has a haunted bridge. In Evansville, you got the Willard Library that's haunted. It just goes on. There's probably, and these are like the 12 top. There's actually a cemetery in Brazil, Indiana. It's called the 100-Step Cemetery.
Okay.
It's a local legend among the residents of Brazil, Indiana, and the surrounding area. Records of the area date back to the 1860s, and rumors about the supernatural have persisted for decades. One of the most famous sources of information is a 1996 personal account from a local student that the cemetery has a path leading up the hill into an open field. As the name implies, the path consists of 100 stone steps. Now, that's pretty precise that you have exactly 100 stone steps. Not 101, not 98, 100.
I am guessing there's probably some sort of symbolism there, and it's for a reason.
Pretty sure, because it's got a legend surrounding the steps is elaborate and unnerving. If you walk up the path in the dark, you should count each step aloud. When you reach the top, the legend says an apparition will appear and show you a terrifying vision of how you will die. I don't I don't think I want to do that. That's almost like doing the Bloody Mary thing in the mirror or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's saying if you walk up the path in the dark, you should count each step aloud. When you reach the top, it says an apparition will appear.
I love
Show you
these. I
something.
love these urban legends. They're so cool.
Well, man, that's better than a floating toe sore with fangs and women tearing their heads off and chasing people eating flesh
You're talking about our previous podcast on Asian Paranormal, the floating torso with the guts hanging out. Yeah,
with the fangs.
with the fangs, right.
So now it says, after you see the vision, you must walk back down the path, counting each step as you go. If you get to the end and your returning step count is different from the original count, the prophecy will come true. If the step count differs, then you're safe.
Hmm.
So whether or not you encounter anything supernatural, the 100-step path is tricky to navigate, especially in the dark. I guess that's the trick. So you got to make sure that you count 100 steps. I mean, what if I don't? I'm going to make sure I count 100 steps when I get back down there, whether I step on 100 of them or not.
That is very interesting.
Yep, that's why I went ahead and read that one out to you because I thought that would be pretty cool to. You didn't know about that.
No,
Anybody
that's
in Brazil, Indiana? It's south of US 40 in Brazil, Indiana. I'm not saying to go do that. I don't know if you want to go do that to see if it's true, but make sure you count 100 steps on your way back down.
Very, very interesting.
So, Jericho, I hope we gave you a little insight on some of the things you asked for and maybe threw some new stuff out there for you.
There you go.
But Indiana's definitely, I wouldn't think Indiana would be on my radar. It is now. It's got some interesting stuff.
Hey, me and Dalton are always looking at new places to investigate and check out and learn about and see what's going on. Without a
I
doubt.
think the Whispers Estate's on our list now. We'll have to, if that guy still got it as a bed and bath or whatever place where we can rent out a room, I definitely want to go there and see about if all the stuff there that's happening is true.
Hey, I'm definitely down. Just say when and what time. And
Well,
sounds like a road trip to me.
road trip. Love road trips.
Well, everybody, it looks like that's about our time that we have. And as far as it goes, we do hope you appreciated listening to Theory of Paranormal's podcast, Indiana, and the paranormal of it. Some of the paranormal of it, to be more exact. And if you have any questions, thoughts, or concerns and want to get a hold of me or Dalton, you're more than welcome to go to theoryparanormal.com. There will be a telephone number you can call if you live in the United States. There's an email address, info@theoryparanormal.com. You can email us. You can send us any evidence that you want professionally reviewed, whether it's photos, videos, or audio, or if you just want to send us a quick message, you can email us, or you can send us an instant message on the website itself. Also, at the bottom, it lists all the different places that we are on for our podcast, and we are a global podcast. We definitely appreciate everybody listening, and if you're a new listener, welcome, and if you are returning back to us, thank you very much for continuing to listen to me and Dalton, and we do hope that you definitely enjoy our podcasts, and you may learn a thing or two as you journey along of each podcast with Theory Paranormal. So, with that being said, Mr. Dalton, is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, just thank Jericho again on that. That's pretty cool. Welcome to all the new listeners, whether you're local or abroad, over in different countries. Want to thank you for listening to us as well. And I guess we'll just get on to the next one, man, and, maybe somebody will chime in before we, pick another podcast on what they might want us to talk about. I'm kinda digging these folks actually giving us some ideas here on where to go look or what state or what country to go look at. It's
And
kinda fun.
just for context, we have people from all over the world send us messages and ask us miscellaneous questions, sometimes personal questions, sometimes scenario based of what's going on and what advice that we can give them. And sometimes they'll say, "Hey, did you know about this particular place? We haven't told anybody about it, or it may not be known." So that's how we'll find diamond in the rough, paranormal tidbits and facts of information. And then sometimes we will feature them on our podcast. So if there's any particular place that you would like to hear about or that you know, but you want to know more about, reach on out to us at info@theoryparanormal.com. Shoot us an email, give us a call, send us an instant message on theoryparanormal.com and let us know. And we can look into things and go from there and maybe feature what your question, thought, or concern is to be our future upcoming podcast. So, with that being said, Mr. Dalton, it looks like we are at the end of this podcast episode. So, as we always say at Theory of Paranormal, don't be afraid to ask questions.